Okay. Another Sunday, another talk track. Ladies and gentlemen, you're most welcome to this episode of the Talk Track. As per usual, we are at Plot 8B, Gavula Road, the Barrow House, Wagwan. Shout out to Rowena, Disco Baby. The Talk Track is an independent production of the Kara Junkies. It is produced, edited, and sound mixed by Morris, aka Just Moreau, aka DJ Morris, aka the man with the mic, aka the man who gives Roy all his names, aka Zibuze. We do not own any of the rights to the music that you will be hearing playing in the background. That music. We also do not dictate the thoughts that are presented by the participants of the talk track. All this is free will and free conversation. How have you guys been, man? Good? How have you been? Someone should pick up the mic and answer the question. It's a very simple question. How are you?
Have been very fine. I acknowledge I've not been around for a long time, but I've been okay.
Thank you for acknowledging your absence. The last time I hosted the talk track, I was here excited about Manchester United not losing. Then last Sunday we went and lost. So today I don't want to jinx anything. I'm just going to keep quiet. Life is like that. I made noise. I made so much noise. So much noise. It was crazy, man. It was crazy. But such is the roller coaster of life. Anyway, something strange I happened upon this week. By the way, in case you hear that, there are keys falling down below me. For our viewers who can't see under this counter, there are keys falling down below me. If you see me jumping, it's not because there's a cockroach. There are keys. So anyway, this week, of course, with the changes that are happening in the world, we all know the biggest one is Trump is back in power in the States, but today we're not going to talk about politics. Well, I was reading about that and then sort of pivoted to a story about someone's experience with a dating site. Now, this lovely lady, who happened to be from Africa, actually, from Kenya, signed up on a dating site, but because this article was on a public forum, she didn't want to disclose which dating site it was, obviously for legal reasons. And she was telling the story about how her goal really was to present herself, so like overhype herself on this dating app to increase her chances of getting a mate or like a partner, right? And so she airbrushes all her pictures and posts herself on there, and you know how dating apps have the profile, and she inflates her profile and everything. And she matches with this gentleman. And, you know, they get to talking and the conversation is flowing. For some reason, they have some very good rapport. She understands the gentleman at a level she didn't expect to, even if it's just via text. And she feels like this gentleman understands her at a level that she hadn't really felt before. But she kept saying that throughout this entire conversation she was having with this gentleman, something just felt oddly familiar. I think for all of us who use our text messages, and we've texted before, you can somehow tell the tone of someone's texts once you've talked to them over a long period of time. So she said the tone of the text felt oddly familiar, and she said it felt very fatherly. She said it felt very fatherly. It felt like this person was talking to me like a father. So a couple of weeks, you know, you've talked, you've sexted, you've done everything, and mind you, she wasn't using her real pictures. The airbrushed pictures she put weren't her real pictures. So they've done the conversations, they've done everything, and they finally agreed to meet up. Now, lucky for her, she wanted to meet up in a public place, because this is someone you just know over text. Well, that trust might be there, but it's not completely there. So she agrees to meet up with this gentleman in a public restaurant in Nairobi. And he was there before her. So she enters the restaurant at the door and she texts him. She's like, hey, I'm here. Where exactly are you seated? And in the far corner of the room, there is this slightly older gentleman who happens to be her father. Right? And so the gentleman says, I'm in a blue shirt seated in the corner of the restaurant. And she's like, she sees the gentleman. right? And I think that the process of just internalizing is like, well, that's my dad. So she texts him again, like, are you sure you're the gentleman in the corner? She's like, yeah, I'm the gentleman in the corner. I'm wearing a blue shirt. I'm taking such and such a drink. I've been waiting for you for about 10 minutes. You can just come and join. And she said she was so horrified by the fact that she had been flirting. Well, now it's hitting her full swing. She's been flirting with her father. She's been sexting with her father. She's been sharing explicit images, obviously not her body, because she didn't want to use her real, but she'd been sharing explicit images with a gentleman who happened to be her father. And that took like a really serious toll on her. And the whole article was her advising people to really go back to the old school version of meeting people again. So go out, actually talk to people, see who they are, and gauge them from there. So my thing for today, in this modern era, how has dating, and just not just dating, but generally dating and building relationships, how has that changed significantly from generations before us? Because I'm pretty sure my grandfather had to walk 25 kilometers to go and find my grandmother, right? And then come back to his place. And yet for us now, it's so easy. I can simply download an app and select, I want people within this radius, and let's see how it goes. And it's not all bad, but it's not all good. So how has dating and how has building relationships in our time differed, and what impact has that had on us as human beings, as opposed to the maybe generations before us?
Okay, I have a lot to say because I grew up with social media. Like right when it started, I had a phone, social media, everything. So I watched like the generation, let's say before us. Like I have my mom's like cousin, if you would call her, and she like got her husband through a dating app or like a dating thing online, and we used to think that was so weird. Like we were like, oh no, like she's gonna be someone, that's gonna like murder her or like, in the future. Like it was just an odd, strange thing to hear that you met on the internet. Like it was creepy. And we always got taught when we were little, like there's always these guys who want to, come after you online who are not like the real person, like you said. And so they used to train us even in school, like you have to watch for this and that to make sure that you're talking to the correct person and not being tricked into things. And then you see all of that today. And so I think there's that mindset, but now it's like, oh yeah, I met my husband online. Everyone would be like, oh yeah, like that makes sense. Like you met on the dating app. Like it's just very normalized now. So I think it's also changed a lot of how we like pursue someone, right? Because it's easy to just text someone and say what you want to say without having to say it in person, especially. And then you miss out on like all of those, what would you call it? Like body language of how they're actually feeling around you, right? Because we get a lot of things where we feel someone's energy and how they reciprocate it without words even. And so I think that's changed a lot online. And so when you meet up the person, you're like, okay, maybe we don't connect. But now you've spent, let's say, months online talking, you've shared everything with them, and then you're like, what do I do, at this point? Versus like before, you had that interaction immediately almost. And so I think that's changed. And then I also think it's changed on perspective of relationships. Like it's very easy for me to see, there's a perfect couple online. So my relationship should be like that one, And so it often happens where we have all of these expectations of someone without realizing like they're human too and they have faults, right? And then of course those relationships, they're not going to put out there that they're perfect. They're going to, or not perfect, I should say. They're going to put out there that they're perfect, all the good moments. They're not going to put those fights that they have or the intense things that goes on between just those two people, right? And so we don't see that. So I think it's just changed our perspective on what a relationship is and our expectations of someone else, while we also don't we don't follow those expectations, but we expect others to, if that makes sense. And I also think it changes how people view other relationships because they don't see those background things. So, anyways, that's a lot, but that's what I have so far.
Okay, outside, yeah, that was really lovely. But
Oh, okay.
outside of the expectations, and Rona, you can add to this when you've made your point. Outside of the expectations, what effect has it had on human-to-human interaction? Because you remember there is a couple of weeks ago when we discussed whether we've become desensitized to real and genuine human connection. Do you think that dating apps and convenience in building relationships has contributed to that?
So yes, of course. But also what you said is quite true, that the connections, you will eventually meet someone and there's no connection. But via text or the app, it's been flowing because you know what to do. It's like the unwritten rules of writing or like texting or like a letter, or you know what to say, right? And quite often when we're texting with people, you sort of wait to hear what they're going to say. Like what are they typing? And then from what they type, then you're like, oh, I should be saying this. So even that alone is quite complicated because I'm going to say what I have to say based on what you say. So quite often we adjust or we say things we know that the other person wants to hear. Personally, for now, I don't think I would ever do a dating app. My sister has, but I don't know. Just be creepy, guys, Within the first 3, 4, 5 conversations, they've sent you a picture of something. So she's like, I'm not doing this anymore. But when you look into how even relationships, so I can say hello to you and then eventually we start to talk but not physically meet. So we get comfortable talking maybe on, not even calls, but like texts, like the WhatsApps and the emails, and people are liking each other's pictures on different apps and blah, blah. When you actually get the chance to sit with them for more than an hour, sometimes it doesn't make sense. You're like, how do we have a very good conversation on text, but when we sit to talk, we don't have anything to say? And some of the best relationships are the ones that grow because you're always around people and you find yourselves growing into it, whether it's friendships, whether it's lovers, whether it's even, like she said, if she was close to her father, I think that's what gave it off. Like, you know your people because you're with them a lot physically. You'll even see things you don't like in that process and decide whether you want to be a part of that or not. So it helps us. These apps, we see the good stuff. Of course, I'm going to tell you the good stuff. And then when you meet me in person and you realize there's something about, maybe you don't like that I am vegan or that I eat meat, small things, or you don't like that I'm too quiet or I'm quite vocal, or maybe you don't like that
The way the person chooses. It's usually something about how someone
that
chooses.
one
I don't know
also
why.
bothers me, yeah? That one also bothers me. That is why it's important. Go on these dates, meet people personally. Of course, to be safe in, like you said, public spaces, okay? Go out on these dates because how people talk to the next person, how people talk to the waiter, how people talk to any person serving or servicing, how they eat, how they respond to what they don't like about their food. All of these things are good. They are telltale signs. I keep telling people there are some people who drive like they're at war with the rest of the world. Hands down, I say those are horrible people. Because if you're driving, you're thinking you're the only one driving, other people don't exist. It means you're quite selfish as a human being. Then they drive and whatever water on you because it has rained and they're in a hurry, there are potholes. People who, for me, by the way, it's so strange. People who drive and there's like pothole and it has rained and you're driving carelessly. I begin to think you're just a horrible person. Because it's small, but in my mind I'm thinking, put that person in a real life situation that is bigger and deeper than that. They're going to think about themselves. They're not going to look at the next person around them. So It's important. Go on these dates, even with friends. Physically be out with these people. Yeah, and then you realize that with texting, yeah, we are more like robots. So yes, to answer also your last question, we are detached in a sense, because sometimes even we have the autofill. As you're trying to type, the phone gives you, you're like, oh, by the way, that works. Let me just put that. For lack of a better word, or for lack of what word, let me use this word. It sounds fancy. It sounds, it sounds. People even go and Google first what to say. Then you see someone is typing, but they're not sending the message. Typing. Thank you, ChatGPT. GPT, whatever. And there's the whole conversation right there.
Yeah, it's like, hey, chat, what can I tell? How can I reply to this?
How do I make a girl feel, special? Or how do I? Because for real, when you're seated with someone, and that is how you can tell. Sometimes we talk about things, and it's people's, like she said, body language. Just how you're going to. Your body will communicate as well. So it's different if I tell you one thing, but my body is stiff. Yeah. So personally, though, dating apps for what?
For what?
It's filled with
Really?
creepy. Yes.
Okay, but my question again, I do understand where you're coming from in terms of dating apps for what, because more often than not, you find that people are never really themselves on these platforms. Why is that though? Why do people feel the need to not be as authentic or their authentic selves on these apps? What is this need for acceptance that we have that has driven us to the point that I am going to put Jason Statham's picture on my profile and try to convince you that I'm him? Even say, hello, mate, stuff like that. So what is it about? Is it the culture these days? Is it just who we are as people? What is it about these platforms that make it seem like we can't be authentic? Like we have to be something else for us to be accepted?
Well, but I'm Philip. So, dating apps or sites and physical meetups. I think our generation is so much going for the dating apps. One, variety. Because it is really hard for me to be talking to her and her, then another person at the same time. And I'm weighing physically. So, on the apps or the sites, I can actually test 5 women. And I'm really telling them the same things. Just to see who responds best to what I want. And I'll be telling them the same. I could even copy the message from here. So the conversation will flow. There are cases where we may even forget and tell you things we have not talked about. So the conversation may flow according to what is happening at that time, which is really hard if you're doing it physically. And when we get back to being authentic, trust me, internet, the way I've mastered internet, my perception about internet is about impression. It is what I want you to see that I'll show you. Take an example. If there is a celebrity couple and these people break up, they'll only tell us what they want us to know. It will be hard for them to be so real because, again, there are so many people that are there to advise, to judge, to do all that kind of stuff. So, if I've found someone on an application or a website, and I'm like, Philip, today you're launching the manifesto. If I'm going to launch my manifesto, of course I will have to sit down and bring the best of me. What I think that will actually impress that person. Which I don't think is good, because in the end, we shall have to interact physically. And it's also hard to maintain the Philip of the site in the physical state. So I think, one, we should, I cannot blame or judge whoever is not being real, because it is impression that matters. Remember, this is someone you're telling yourself about. So it is what they'll know of you first that matters. So I think that's why people have taken time to come up with filters. These days, it's really hard to take a photo of a person and you've not used filters. It's really hard. So it gets back to what you want these people to see. But me and sites, the issue with sites and apps, they require a lot of patience. I mean, it take a lot of time. Yeah, because if we are meeting physically, trust me, if you are meeting physically, I cannot launch my manifesto for 5 hours and I'm talking to you, telling you the same thing. But on the site or application, we are going to chat because we can chat as I'm working. So we are going to chat for a very long time, and to me, it's a turn off. It's too much work to do. It's too much work to do, and I cannot maintain. I may forget, so I may end up going to Google.
Ask ChatGPT. I was discussing something with this lady, and I somehow forgot the direction in which the conversation was going. So what do we do? I asked ChatGPT, what are we doing now? And Chat is like, bruh, I don't know. But the day that happens, the day ChatGPT just returns after a prompt, it's just like, guy, I don't know. The world is ending. So, I know we've touched on a couple of these, but now let's go into it in a bit of detail. What role do you think dating apps have played in perpetuating or combating aspects of society like ghosting, like inauthenticity, like even infidelity? What role do you think dating apps have played in either combating? So have they reduced these factors when it comes to building relationships, even if it's platonic, whether it's platonic or romantic, or have they played a role in making them even more pronounced in our day-to-day life? So things like inconsistency, things like ghosting, catfishing, which is now a very big thing. So what role have dating apps played in either combating or perpetuating these aspects?
Huge. They are very
huge.
visible.
Huge on both fronts? Like they have both perpetuated and combated, or?
I don't think there's been much of combating.
Okay.
It's been more of because see with these apps, the silence is loud, because if it's going to be constant, maybe chatting or whatever you're using these apps for, and then someone loses interest, or perhaps they get interest in another, person in the same app, it's going to be very visible. You're going to that's why you see people are obsessed now with following certain people and checking their socials and how long ago were they active, and then why were they active at 3 a.m? We were sleeping.
Hey, you told me good night, but
You
I saw
said
you
good
online
night,
at 2.
But you're online at 3, at 2. And then to make matters worse, for example, with WhatsApp, now I will know if you've changed those settings and I can't see when you were last seen. Then I say, so why don't you want me to see your last seen, And then, I mean, basically it's like overwhelming, I think, for all of us. And sometimes that's when you see, so if it wasn't me, it was for who? Why did you remove the last scene for who if it was not me? So have you ever received messages that are not for you? And someone says, sorry, that's not yours. So basically the whole time you're like, I tell the message was for who?
Yeah,
who else are we
It was meant for the wrong
to?
person.
Like, yeah.
But remember, the message that was meant for another person was the very same message they sent to you at 2 p.m. earlier.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So you're like...
Can we meet at the Bourbon and started? Oh, sorry, this wasn't for you.
This wasn't for you. Like, yo, what's up? Who are you meeting at Bourbon at 2? So I think it's become more pronounced with the ghosting and what we're calling the catfishing now, because it's in our faces. It's everywhere. You see, physical connections are different, because that means the next time I see you, I'll have to see you for you to understand why we were not in touch anyways. I'll have to see you for you to understand what was going on. And if I don't, it's clear as day between the two of us. It's not for the whole world to figure. It's for us to know that, okay, at this point, this is where we fall. Okay? Then I'll either seek out or you seek out to engage on that issue. But you see, that's why you see people break up on the phone. It's very easy. I've done that before. But the person told me, so this meant nothing at all that you broke up on phone. Can we meet and you tell me I'm breaking up with you? Because I think I get that beat because they wanted to see my body language. Was I actually breaking up because I was done with, or breaking up for whatever reasons I have? So when you sit with people and they tell you, oh, you're my friend, and you sit with them, you see it if they are your friend. That is why we keep saying that people can shock you. It's because we've been having a top quoting kind of arrangement. But when you're around them more, yeah, you're like, wait, this person is not my friend. They're lying. You can tell, you can see it. Because have you ever smiled and nothing moves there? Yeah? But you're smiling with your teeth. So I think whether it's relationships or like platonic or lovers or whatever, I think it's important. And that's why you see people get closer the more they're in each other's spaces. It doesn't mean they're not going to see the dirty stuff. They will. But that's when someone who has been around you physically, has experienced you, has experienced your emotions, has experienced your, they know. I can sense that now if Roy's tone goes like this, yeah? So it becomes easier to even adjust, forgive one another, give each other chances, or understand yourselves more, improve yourselves, because you have gotten the opportunity to understand who you are as a person. On the phone, I do not know. You're going to tell me all of these cool things. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And then I meet you and I'm like, no, no, no. So, and it's hard to take, because now you've met someone, but you've encouraged them because it was exciting on the phone, no? And then you meet them, you're like, how do I? And because you've not been communicating physically, you go back home and then that's when you text, I don't think this is going to work out. But you met them and you couldn't say it. So I think it's important. It's important. We are in the edge of communications getting thinner and slimmer.
Yeah.
To the point that now even the Google itself and all of these apps have to first confirm if you're a person.
Are you human?
Like, let's just, are you, yes.
How
Do you
many-
know what this is?
Tick all the boxes with motorcycles.
The things that only a human will identify too, because they have seen them,
Yeah.
physically associated with them. So I think as much as we think it's cool, right? I have seen a lot of couples, like you said, on the social media. Oh, you're like, I want to be like this. Oh my God, if I could. And then in 2 months, the whole place, and we are in-laws, eh? We are in-laws on the internet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, once you put it out there, we all become involved.
And then we're all like, oh my God, what happened? What did he do? What did she do? Everyone has a version to that story. And then some people are like, oh my God, I'm broken. These were the people that gave me hope. And I'm like, really? You forgot they're human?
You start involving unnecessary parties in your relationships.
Like,
The court of public opinion.
Thank you. You're
Me, my
forgetting
man
they're
cheated.
human?
I
Only
want.
mine has to give me this kind of ring,
Yes,
'cause
I
it's
want
the
all
one-
his
you've
friends
heard
to be
about
on my side.
What's that ring called? Once you give it to one person, you don't give it to any other person. Who said? You won't all know. The other one is in the other state. The other one is in Africa. They all receive rings. And before you know it, and that's, we've seen a lot of people expose themselves. Or rather,
Yeah.
you find that we found a lot of like girls say, oh my God, my boyfriend. And then the other says, hold up, that's my boyfriend. Because someone posted. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to find these people, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
But like social media has really, we've forgotten how to engage and talk and have, So that's why you see, I would rather go on social media and say, oh my God, he did this,
Yeah.
than engage him or the people around me, because it's easier to sort of disassociate
Yeah.
and then move on to the next. And then all of us in-laws will come and tell you, it's time to move on. you know?
Yeah.
Fresh start, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not a fan.
But I like that you brought in the aspect of social media, because I think we do have like dating apps where the purpose of the app is really to bring two people together for whatever reason, the Tinders and the Bumbles of this world. But I feel like we also need to acknowledge that our social media platforms in and of themselves have become dating apps.
Yeah.
So what's Instagram, TikTok. Hmm? Even LinkedIn is about to get there, by the way. I have a very strong feeling. Come say, I'm very interested in your profile. I'm very interested in your profile. Okay, but can we meet? Yeah, but so outside of social media, this question can extend to both our social media platforms and our dating apps. How can we use these in a manner that is healthy enough to create realistic and long-lasting and maybe sustainable relationships? It can be platonic, because I can DM a girl on Instagram and my goal is just to really be her friend, or I can DM a girl on Instagram with the intention of dating her, or as it is majority of the time these days, I'm going to DM a girl on Instagram for a quick hit and run. I don't know if that's still the case. People still do that, because we as a generation have become like I think a little bit too desensitized to genuine emotion, right? That every time someone approaches you, maybe their first thought is the sexual aspect of things, but we can get into that later. How can we use these platforms in a manner that promotes healthier relationships and, more importantly, healthier communication?
Do you have an answer for that?
There is no wrong answer.
Well, social media is very tricky. Like we stated earlier on, people have different intentions.
Yeah.
And you've suggested a few platforms, the likes of Instagram, LinkedIn, and I personally understand that LinkedIn is a professional thing.
Yeah, it's a networking
Like
application.
it's networking professionally.
Yeah.
But they would not stop me from creating an account if my intention is to get a wife from LinkedIn.
From LinkedIn. Yes.
Because I've been in spaces where people are having romantic conversations via Gmail.
Uh-huh.
So people are that patient.
As per my last email.
And I'm just following up. I hope this email finds you well. So it gets back to the intentions. People join these platforms with different intentions. So however much we want to use them to promote a
Healthier relationships
relationship
and healthier communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it what everyone wants? Because
that's a good way to look at
we
it.
cannot be fighting for a platform that is accepting anyone. If I'm registering, for example, if I'm signing up for Instagram and they ask for my age, and I'm sure for me to get what I want on Instagram, I have to be 30 years plus, I'm going to put 30.
Yeah.
So whichever relationship I'm going to build with my 30 years on Instagram will be actually fitting the 30 years.
Yeah.
I'll make sure it is fitting the 30 years. So it gets back to our intentions. Are we actually real about the first step we take is to be real to ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, I'm having an account with this platform, I'm doing this, but am I really getting there to tarnish everything? Because I can as well create an account just to break couples up. And my role is to get pictures of this one's wife with another guy, keep them, and send them to the other person, or create a group, and I can even create a group and put them all in, and then I start up a topic. I'm like, so and so, I've realized you've been doing this and this, so clear it. So in that way, I don't know whether I'm fighting for the other guy's relationship or I'm actually about Kavuyo.
Yeah.
So it gets back to me, I think it's about intention.
So we have to be really authentic about our
yeah,
intentions
yeah,
from
yeah.
the get-go.
Of which we don't expect everyone to be real and authentic.
Yeah.
Because, like we said, social media has to be social. It is for everyone.
Yeah.
As long as I can hold the phone in my hand, it is up to me to put whatever I want.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
That's lovely. Okay, outside of the intentions, anything else? Because it's one thing for me, Roy, to know what I want to do on an app, but like you said, I cannot control what everyone else is doing on that app. So within our limited resources and within our limited capabilities, how can we take it upon ourselves to at least play a part? Because I find that usually when people relate to your intention, they will also sort of fall in line with their actions, right? If your intention is very clear on social media, it will be very easy to meet people with a like-minded intention. So yes, intentions are good, but outside of intentions, what is it? What else can we do as utilizers of these platforms and these dating apps to ensure effective and healthy communication, but also healthy relationships?
I think for everyone that communicates with you, me, by the way, personally, I take it with a pinch of salt. So there's people who will, yes, it will seem like you have same interests, you're basically on the same page for some reason, maybe. Because I remember way back when we were still using Facebook to chat also, you would find that people are like, oh, we're like-minded, or join this group for writers and blah, blah, blah. And you join the group, right? And then there's these conversations about this, and then you write and someone follow up script, and it's fun and it's interesting. Okay, the good thing about that is sometimes we'd all meet physically for a gathering, and we chill. Actually, we call it the gathering. So, but here's the thing. I am very scared of people who send me messages on these apps, because if we're on the app for whatever, and then you go into my inbox to send a message, I'm very scared of you. Anyone who does that, I'm sorry. I am very scared of you, because how? What are we going to talk about? Like, why? No. See, my fears are there, and my fears don't allow me to send messages on these apps, because there's half the time the guys who have sent messages are creeps. It's nothing really. It's like someone just is stalking you or something. So I think we should take it upon ourselves to be extra careful on on knowing how to engage on these apps. Because if you get excited that, oh, everyone is saying hello, and oh, this person says they're interested in what you do, the content you put, some of them it's true. But then from that conversation, I expect that if we're having a conversation, we're not going to keep it on that app. For example, every day you're telling me, you want to work with you on this. From there, maybe there's a way to engage, and like you said, I like physical meetings. They're scary sometimes for people you meet online. But I always make sure it's in a public space. And then I also choose, not everyone you meet. You don't meet everyone. Some people will chat with you. There are people who still chat with me for years now. And I've never seen them. We've never, but they chat year to year. Hi, long time. You've been lost. In my mind, I'm like, what is the long time? What is the lost? until even next year, hi, it's been a while. You're lost. You chucked me.
That's the one.
I'm like, chucked? When did we?
Some chucking.
Some chucking. You're like, really? Right now, if I go on my Facebook, which I've not gone on for years.
Yeah.
I just go like this, someone will know I'm online. Hi, long time, some chucking.
You'll get a lot of some chucking.
What's going on? But I think even with good intentions, from my end, the statistics may not exist, but if I'm to guess, 98% of the people who get into your inbox are creeps.
Okay.
So for me, I don't even bother.
So,
whatever my intentions were.
Yeah.
Even, I think if I went on an online, like a dating app, it would be just to see.
So
I could get.
Yeah. What I'm getting from you, because what we got from Philip is it comes down to the intention. What I'm getting from you is it's now up to us to set our boundaries.
Yes.
because again, we're on platforms that are designed for everyone, and we cannot control how everyone does what they do. And a lot of these companies design these platforms for a maximum engagement. So the more people they get, the more money they get. And it becomes very difficult to control that. That's why, again, I put the question is, what can we do as ourselves? Because you're not going to go and tell Zuckerberg to tweak the algorithm on Instagram such that creeps don't come into your DM. He'll be like, but why are you then on Instagram?
Some of them come very well dressed.
Yeah. So, yeah, things like I love that. I love that. Setting our own boundaries, being clear about our intentions. Yep. Yeah, it's the same question.
What was your question?
Oh, yeah. How can we use our platforms to create
Oh.
healthier relationships and healthier communication?
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you're going back to that. I will say yes, I've had my share of creepy people and things like that, but that's why they taught us from a young age what we should be looking for, which was very helpful, I think, having that when I was younger. But I know obviously a lot of people around the world don't have that opportunity to learn. But I also believe I've gained really genuine friendships out of social media, and I've been able to also keep really good friendships for a long time. I think back to how, like, back in the day, it was like, oh, we're so excited for our 10-year reunion because you get to see all these people and understand what have they been doing for 10 years.
Yeah.
Versus for us, it's like we see everyone online. If I want to see how my friend Bailey's doing, I go to her, Facebook, and I say, okay, now she's posted, she has 3 kids, she has, all these things, and you just know right away. So I think it keeps us connected in that way, that we understand maybe situations of what people are going through, that they might post about, or even connect with. Let's say I had kids and then I wanted to connect with her because she also has kids, and they can, hang out and play together, things like that. And I've built really genuine friendships from people just randomly messaging me, hey, I've seen you around town. Would you mind going to get a coffee? Right?
Would you?
And so I did it. I mean, it was a girl that was around my age, and it was, and we became really, really good friends out of that and hung out a couple times per week. So yeah, so I think that you can use it for those things, but also just with me being so far away from where I grew up, even when I was in university, I was able to really keep up with my family even, because we might not always have a phone call, and I might not know, oh, like my family did this for, the last week, but because they posted some photos that they went on vacation, I know that. Like even my grandma yesterday was like, when you go to Thailand, you need to make sure that you post the photos so we can live our life through you. That's really what she said last night, And so I think that's the way we can connect and also get to know people that are like very similar to our interests and different things, but obviously being cautious about that. And I've had many friends who've gotten married to people they've met off of Instagram and, like the dating apps. So I can't talk too much about them. But yeah, even my brother back in 2005, he met his wife on MySpace, if you remember MySpace.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so imagine, I've seen it since I was younger that it can really flourish and, things can happen.
Okay, so my breakdown from this is, and again, speaking from the perspective of people who have grown up on this other side of the world, is majority of us are not exposed to these platforms until relatively much later. Of course, times are changing now. We have our 10, 8, 9, 12-year-olds who have phones, so they have access to these platforms. I was shocked when my 16-year-old sister told me she knew what Tinder was, and I said, what are you doing on Tinder? She's like, no, I'm not on Tinder, but I know what Tinder is. And from what Jocelyn has mentioned, and this is very important for us to take and moving forward, is just because these platforms exist doesn't mean we all know how to navigate them. And I think, I firmly believe that from a young age, and now we have to start doing it earlier than ever before, is our society is fast changing. We as our, indigenous communities cannot keep pretending like the world is still the world that we knew in 78, 79, or 50. I am not going to walk 25 kilometers like my grandfather did, God rest his soul, to talk to a girl. I'm simply going to pick up my phone and maybe go on an app or, go to a social media platform. So I think it's really important in my perspective that engaging especially the young generation at a very young age about how to effectively utilize these platforms, I think is a big way in which in the long run we can start using them effectively. One, to build better connections, but also for better communication. Because if someone is being exposed for the first time to a dating app or to social media when they're 22, 23, there's a whole lot they have not been exposed to before that, and chances are they're not going to effectively utilize this platform the way it's supposed to be. So I think we need to get our heads out of the sand and actually try as much as possible, one, to not run away from these aspects. It's not a bad thing for your 14-year-old to be on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, for your 18-year-old. Notice I didn't say 14, for your 19-year-old, 20-year-old to be on Tinder, because that's where the world is going now. Well, the best thing we can do as a society is educate these people on how effectively, one, they can utilize these platforms, but also two, protect themselves on these platforms. I think that's why I'm not saying in Western culture the catfishing doesn't happen or the ghosting doesn't happen, but it's much easier to spot because, again, you all have been taken through what it means to be on these platforms. With us, it's a lot more difficult. It gets to the point where the time you spotted that you've been catfished is when you're standing at the entrance of a restaurant and looking in the corner, and the guy in the blue shirt is your father. It doesn't have to get to that point. And when I was actually reading that article, I felt strongly like Jocelyn does, that education is everything. And I'm not saying, hey, go to school and put up a syllabus. This is the school of life. So it's up to us to talk to our siblings. And when we become parents, it's up to us to talk to our children about how to utilize these platforms effectively. But just to close us out, has anyone had a crazy dating app experience? I just want to hear if you've used a dating app. Don't be shy. We listen, we don't judge. Just, a fun one. I have. I'll tell you mine. But no, I'll go last.
Okay, I wouldn't say I did, but someone else had one and I went with for the adventure because it was like they're saying they're so tall, right? And they look so attractive. Like all the girls were like, yeah, that one. Yeah, you should definitely meet him. The guy says he's like 5'10". Shows up to the place. He looks like he has muscles, all these things. And he gets there and he's the tiniest little guy. Like super short. But now you're at the point where all of us are like looking at him. Like we're just meeting him because we were doing like a girls trip. And we're looking at him like, what are we supposed to say? Like, and then this girl wants to run away because she's like, this is not who I thought it was. So there's many things like that. But I also, like you say, the catfish in America thing, that made me laugh because we have a show literally called Catfish.
Called Catfishing.
And my friend that I'm really close to since I was like, I don't know, 7, she got catfished by someone that went on that show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so it was just interesting. Like she used to tell us about it, and then she was like, "But it seems a little weird, like some things with him. I don't know."
Yeah.
And then sure enough, yeah, he was not who he said he was. And so she was like, "I was this close to being on that show." So yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't experienced it, but like I said, a sister of mine tried it, and some of them would look very decent enough, guys. But give it a day's conversation, they were sending pictures of,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why does it always get to that though? Like
I don't know. Because these guys have this thing, or if you're on a dating app, then I don't think you're really looking for something,
serious
or anything like that. And yet some people are actually looking for something serious,
Yeah.
So when that kept going, she was like, you know what, I can't do this. I can't just keep getting random pictures of ding-dongs and stuff.
Ding-dongs.
So, but personally, no. However, I wanted to comment on younger kids, like teenagers. yes, it's very important to engage them and teach them so that they know. Because there's a lot of older, creepy guys out there
Yeah.
who are, um,
Older creepy guys and
yes.
women.
And women, yes.
Yeah.
So for them, when you see, like, as a 14-year-old, you think you're chatting with another 14 to 16, maybe. Sometimes they'll say, oh, I'm 20, and the guy or the woman is like way older than that. Even 20 is for a 14-year-old, really.
Oh, that's
And then they make them friends, you know. So that's why I think a lot of parents, even out there, are very keen on what we call, what are they called? The tablet kids? The what kids? They're always on the internet, eh?
yeah.
So that's why there's been a lot of emphasis and money put into that area, because they track down now these people. They can actually literally get a young girl to start to put up a profile, and then there's always those guys. They're like wolves. They're waiting, and it's very sad. So as much as we're saying, yeah, it's the times, I don't know how effective or how good we can be at helping. Because it's one thing, you know, teenagers are funny. You'll think they've listened to you. Yeah. And then past bedtime, they're under their covers, yeah, on the phone or tablet or whatever, chatting with a random, because that person makes them feel noticed, visible. You know, that's the age. Teenagers want to be seen 24/7. So you're here telling them, oh, don't do this. You're not supposed to be on the internet. They're like, oh, I hate you so much. You're making my life hard. And then there's this guy or this chick who's telling them, oh, my God, you're amazing.
You can't tell that to my mother.
Yeah.
Eh? You hate her.
So I think as much as we want to embrace, yeah, because we're also a generation that saw the internet in its beginnings and it's now, to be honest with you. You know, but for us, I think by the time you would get to search for something, it took you a couple of minutes, and by then maybe someone has passed.
Hey, and your only friend was
What are
Google.
Yes.
Your only friend was Google. You
Exactly.
didn't have ChatGPT.
The kind of games that are out there now. We used to have our solitaires and what, but these days there's some weird things on there.
Yeah.
So I think we need to know that people are quick and fast, eh? People are very quick and fast, because I learned the other day, even with kids apps, people communicate with these little ones without us realizing it. I don't know what kind of encrypted messages they put out there or what, and then the kid starts telling, you know, I was talking to my friend so and so, and you're like, when, how, where? Because and you're telling them, you check the games on the phone or whatever, and there's only Tom or Angela or Talking Tom. But later on at night, whatever happens in those settings.
But now, why is Talking Tom talking to a 4-year-old?
Yes, these things are happening. They're creepy. Some guy is
this
out
is-
there in a basement
This is why I'm too scared to have kids right now.
looking out for active, yeah? And then they find a way, they get into these people's servers or whatever, and then they access these people.
Yeah.
Even us as adults, really. You get random messages, Manya, you're supposed to go to which office? And you're like, hey, did I make any appointment? Some people fall for it, because if you're not alert, and you know, kids, it's exciting. They're talking to someone, they're having a conversation. I have my friend. You begin to think it's an imaginary friend because, you know, kids. Only to find out it's legit.
Talking Tom.
Someone is talking, a talking Tom.
Talking Tom.
So I think as much as we want to embrace, we need to be
We need to be
present.
vigilant. We need to be
Yes.
vigilant, and we need to be
We
on
need
top
to be
of these
very
things.
present.
Yeah,
Like,
goes back to
we're
what I said
always,
about the education of our people. Philip, any crazy dating app experiences? Did you launch your manifesto properly and it backfired?
Of course. I launch every time. Yeah, I would relate to the past years when I was still excited about what everyone was doing.
Yeah.
And there are specific apps we used to have. And this particular society I was in was a Christian society.
Oh,
Actually, I realized
you are the ones.
people in those societies, they are bound to land on the wrong apps or sites
Yeah.
a lot, because they call it fornication, that side. But any kind of relationship between a man and a woman, and you're not married, and your intentions are not to have a wedding soon, you're fornicating. So because of that, I was like, these people are stopping me from doing what they call fornicating.
You wanted to fornicate.
I actually realized.
They weren't giving you an opportunity.
It's when I realized they are actually Christian sites and applications where Christians are meeting Christians.
Yeah. Even for Muslims. I've also seen one for the Jews. I didn't know that. Like,
So-
specifically for Jews. I was shocked.
I said today I'm launching in a gospel way. I'm going to fornicate in a gospel way.
Bible studies.
So I signed up. I was really excited, and it was. I think at a point we had to fill in a certain kind of scripture for us to get to a certain page. So I got past that because I was there. So I met like I told you earlier on. The beauty with apps is variety.
Yeah.
I mean, you scroll, you're like, this one, no. So I found around, I found around 3 people, and we started chatting. And in my mind, when someone responded immediately, and you know, on apps, if someone takes their time to respond immediately,
You lose the interest.
I called that seriousness.
Oh.
So we started chatting until there was a notification that I had to pay some money for me to continue talking to this person. I was like, why? Why am I paying money to launch my manifesto
on a Christian app?
on a Christian app? I was so discouraged and for me, all the time, anything that involved filling my card credentials somewhere, like my card number or anything, I'd like, no,
Yeah,
these are scammers. So that's how I missed out on a Christian girl. I refused to pay.
Don't worry.
I refused to pay.
When you
But
love
you
love something, you let it go. If it comes back to you, then it was truly meant for you.
So I actually don't know whether these people I was chatting with were real
Yeah.
or they were not.
AI.
Because me reaching to a position where I'm supposed to first pay before I continue talking to this person. So it was a turn off for me. I was like, so from that time, me and apps, I think we are not compatible.
Thank you guys for that. Remember how I said I have a story? I didn't. I just wanted you guys to talk. Anyway, thank you all for being here tonight with us. This has been really, really engaging. We wanted to go for something a little bit lighthearted today because recently we went into some heavy topics. But thank you all for being here. We do this every Sunday, Plot 8B, Gabula Road. The Kara Junkies, of course, independent production. The TalkTrack is an independent production of the Kara Junkies, produced, edited, and sound mixed by Maurice. Check us out on our social media platforms, on Instagram, on TikTok. I'm going to say all of them. The one where you don't find us, you ask. On YouTube and on Instagram is where we are most active. So check us out on there. Please, when this gets uploaded, our viewers, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. We thrive on comments. That's how we get the feedback to improve. And yeah, as usual, after the talk track segment where we continue the discussions when the camera is off, no mic, just, insightful conversations. So all viewers who listen to this and watch this, please come through, have an insightful conversation, and then have an insightful conversation after an insightful conversation. I don't know, it's a double doozy. So as usual, I've been your host for the evening. My name is Roy, aka Muzamiru, aka Muzamuzu, aka Alchemist, aka Kamada. And I'll see you all next Sunday. Thank you for being with us and have a great week. Peace out.